Hey folks, Professor Kai here. I'm doing a tutorial on creating an initialization script for the M5. So as you know from previous video on the M5 architecture, if you haven't seen that, go watch that video because I assume you know what I'm talking about. So the M5 has really three components. There is the ESP32 chip that's inside. And then there is the M5 core unit that has a lot of peripheral functionalities like the LCD, like the touch buttons that's on them. It's got a speaker, it's got a microphone, and then it's got a whole bunch of actual pin access that you can plug things in so you can get to the pins on the ESP32. And then finally, you have the NeoPixel strip. That's the programmable LED strip, right? So to use your M5 using MATLAB, you need to first figure out which port is connected to. So if you don't know how to do that, look up the video on how to figure out which port you're connected to, right? So after you figure out which port is connected to, you use the Arduino function to create a connection between the computer and the ESP32. And then you use the add-on function to create a connection between the computer and the core unit, and this would allow you get you access to the M5 Unify library. And then finally, if you do want to use the NeoPixel programmable LEDs, use the add-on function to make a connection to the NeoPixel. That'll give you access to the NeoPixel library, right? So now each time we use the M5, we have to do that, right? So it gets really bothersome. So the easiest way is to just create a script, right? And so I've created a script called initialize M5 Kai. Why it's not showing up, I have no idea. Oh, there we go. It just wasn't click well. Okay. So first we figure out what the port is, so we know I'll run the code down below so you see. I first run serial port list, and then that's gonna give me a bunch of let's go here. That's gonna give me a number of an array, and right now nothing is there because it's not connected. So I'm gonna connect it through the USB-C. Now you see my M5 is connected. I'm gonna run the code again. Now it's gonna give me an array of 8, and I know the 7th one looks like on my Mac, that's the one, right? So I know that SPL7 is the correct port, so I'm just gonna put SPL7 into a variable called port string. Now you're looking at the top part of the code. And I know my board type doesn't change, is always that. So the port string is the part that you have to be careful, because occasionally, depending if you get other things that's plugged into your computer, now the port string could change, right? Then after that, we basically do the same thing each time, right? We use Arduino and we create a connection. We tell it that's port string. That's what's the port we're connected to, and then we tell it the board type, which is our ESP32 Vroom DevKit C. So that's going to create the ESP32 connection. Then we're going to do an add-on and ESP32 using the M5 Unify library, and that would create a connection to all the peripherals, the LCD, and things like that, and get us access to the M5 Unify library. I'll put that as into a variable called M5 core, and then finally I connect to the NeoPixel, and I put that connection into a variable called NeoPixel. That's it. So every time, all I have to do is, if you see, I'm just plugging the M5 into the USB-C, and I'll just run this code. In fact, I can just run and just say initialize M5 Kai, and we'll wait a little bit. It usually takes a few seconds. There you go. Now it's connected. You see that it created a ESP32 variable, and I showed that variable, and it also create a M5 core. That's a connection to the M5 Unified. And there's also a NeoPixel variable that stores the connection to the NeoPixel. So you can actually just type NeoPixel, it'll show up, right? Another trick that you can do is, so for example, if you want to know what functions are available to you to a particular component, so for example, the NeoPixel, and you can do NeoPixel dot and press tab, and that's going to give you all the functions that you can use with NeoPixel. And I'll do a separate tutorial on these functions, how to use them, right? M5 core is the same, so that's the function you can use with your core unit, and you put dot and you press tab, and that's going to give you all the functions that's currently available with the M5 core. There you go.